G'day, and with Inforunners, I'm Execute, joined today by Algared. Algared, we're actually not even at 1 p.m. Australian time. This is a very unusual recording time for me and you.
It is a very unusual recording time for us.
Yeah, but Algared's...
considering I didn't expect to be home until 1 p.m.
Well, we couldn't record it at our usual time because I went to sleep trying to get ready for Invictus.
He did. He went to sleep. And we couldn't record it earlier this morning because I was out doing, medical stuff and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, so very unusual. Yep.
Execute's happy I've had a coffee now.
Yeah, got rid of grumpy Algared. Out of Snickers.
Yeah, I had a coffee. Wasn't a Snickers, it was a coffee.
Yeah. The being on the phone is getting to Algared a little bit because you just can't see quite enough stuff. But you've got an iPad and an iPhone today set up, so you've kind of...
We've rigged up the iPad, so I've actually got 14 inches instead of 9. Yeah. So, it's a little bit better. It's a bit weird seeing 3 of me on the screen in front of you. Yeah. It's scary. I'm seeing. I'm only seeing 3 of me. I'm only seeing 1 of you. So that's okay. 3 to 1. That's good.
Well, phasing me out. All right, so what I did was, because Algared can't get in to even see stuff, even if he could, he's usually at school when the RSI stuff rotates through. So what I've done is I've gone in and captured a couple of walk-arounds, so one really around the base, and then one kind of as high up as I could possibly go. And we're just going to talk about things that we kind of noticed on this. This is probably going to be a pretty quick video, but because again we've only really got the externals to start with. But I think the first question is what you started with, Algared, was, is it impressive? And size wise it is. I'll click play and just let us play while we talk.
Well, it was sitting there like that, and I said to him, is it impressive? And he says, what? And he started talking about the other thing we're talking about. I said, no, the Polaris, in game, is it impressive? And he said, yeah, and I think it is. When I actually realised, he said, that's the the Phoenix below it, and then I realised, it's actually in the display hall, not just lying around space, and that was a nice,
yeah. So it is a little laggy in the hall, and I've actually had to kind of edit out some of the weird long laggy pauses and stuff, but you can kind of see there, like it could almost fit a Connie under it. It's that tall, that type of thing. And speaking of impressive, the probably most impressive thing from my point of view is the landing gear. It is really big, and they're like these giant metal boots, and you can kind of jump up and climb on them. It's a little bit like the whole Caesar, but a bit bigger again, as in size. But like, the thing you notice walking around, and as I assume most people that have been in the hall, is just the detail. Like it's not like a lot of the ships we've seen previously up until this point. They are very texture and normal map based, so they kind of use that to give it this false 3D. But it actually is just like fully modeled in 3D. Yeah, like everywhere.
It's different in that regard from when they did the Idris, where the Idris just seemed to be pretty big and impressive, but it seemed more greebly and just stuff there to fill. This looks, as you're going around and seeing it, it looks more 3D. It looks more tangible.
Yeah. Well, we know they're reworking the Javelin, so hopefully that's kind of what they're doing with that. But I actually thought that we'll talk about it when it comes around again, because there's a few little things I want to kind of poke out in the start of this first video, because like, when I'm circling, like Algared told me to basically go in and highlight things that I thought were important. And if I go back slightly here, I actually thought that this might be a door of some description. Like, can you kind of see what I'm saying there? Like, it almost looks like a back ramp, but I don't think it is. It's me coping or hoping or whatever, or seeing things that are not there. So yeah, there was a few little things like that.
We need a new image of the copium dog as a meme for whenever we're dreaming.
I'll have to make up no, like a copium dog in a gas mask or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll make you an emoji. I'll get around to it. So yeah, clearly some interesting engines too, similar to the Bengal and the Javelin, and even the Perseus now has similar engines to that. So but I think I show off the landing gear here a little bit. Yeah, so this is they're pretty. Yeah, and they're just like these massive square boots. They almost look like Iron Man's feet type of thing. Like you'll see what I mean if I walk around them. But But yeah, it's really chunky.
I do hope that when they work, they kind of have that same compression feel that the Reclaimers ones had. They were
agreed. They have a lot of manual wings on it too, which is really interesting. It's got like, so they've got these kind of slow like air brake type things, but they've also got the these four of them actually, wings that kind of pivot like that. But not only that, they then have a rudder on those, so it's got this real old school feel. But this is meant to be a really modern ship, so it's the type of stuff I'd expect to see on a Perseus, not on a Polaris. And I do yeah, so that there is actually a hidden. I need to pause this again. Oh, sorry. So that this big one here, I just realized you guys can't see my mouse pointer. So this big one here is actually a turret that has 4 size 3s on it. It's like a quad fighter turret. Being size 3s, it's obviously tailored at a fighter. And there's one on the other side as well. This one here is a sliding door that slides out, and that's the docking collar. And there's one on each side as well. If I play it a little further, hopefully, there we go. So this here is actually the cargo bay, and there is multiple layers to these doors, so we kind of don't know how they open, but what there is in the files is there's actually 2 giant ramps that come out. So you got to imagine that these ramps are like they cross inside like that, and they're going to come out and then fold down either side, so you can go up in. And I was talking to Grim Starjump, and he was saying that there's a personal stairs, like for personnel, as well as a driving thing. Because if you look at it, it is quite wide. But they don't quite think that you'll be able to fit like a really large vehicle in there. More of a medium.
Now, you said there's a ramp on either side. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, for the Polaris, it was originally only had the ramp on one side and the docking collar was on the other. So that's a really big change to actually do both sides having the
drive in, drive out type thing. Yeah, it's really going to be really handy for cargo.
I've got to admit, I kind of like the idea of a ramp being on the one side, because that gives you almost a port side and a starboard side. So it would have given you that idea. For those who don't understand why ships have a port side, that was the side that docked. That was the side that tied up. So that was the port side. And the starboard side was where the steering board was. So it was the steerboard side.
Oh, okay. I always wondered that. I was like, why don't they just use left and right like a normal person? But anyway.
Because when they had the old steerboards on the side, you couldn't actually dock because it got screwed up. So, yeah.
So these are actually the torpedo, where the torpedoes come out. They're the actual torpedo ports, and these are like got some caps on them. So I figure it somehow they're going to open somehow, whether they're like a door or whatever. But at the moment, they kind of not. I think they're just placeholders for the moment. I could be completely wrong. This here
kind
in
of like submarine torpedo hatches.
Absolutely. So this here as well, at first thought, a lot of people, including myself for a brief moment, thought that this was a viewing thing. But you actually see when I zoom in, once you zoom in, you realize it's not very quickly. And apparently it's like a light.
Okay,
like a giant... No, it is. We know it is from the files. Because in the files, it's listed as one.
Okay. Because I know, apart from torpedoes, it's also supposed to have, I think, from memory, missiles as well.
Yep.
So it had,
and I'm about to...
missiles as well as
and I'm about to show you that. So this little thing here is like a little eye camera. So it's for some kind of remote camera or something. It looks like a little security camera. And if I play this, you'll see very quickly where the missiles are, Algared. And it's similar to ye old RSI Scorpius. So there you go. You can see them now. So they're actually above the torpedoes on either side, just like the Scorpius. And I think that's going to look kind of cool, like sitting there in the cockpit and just seeing these missiles and torpedoes like fly out. It's going to be pretty cool.
It's one of the things I did like on the, I think it was the Vanguard. When it fired its guns, you could actually see the guns pulsing. Kind of. So it made you feel, even though you were in the cockpit, you kind of had that, I'm in a turret. And that was one of the things I did like about it. But
so this is
you
just...
can see, as you said before, you could almost park a Connie underneath it, and there's a Connie with the Polaris in the background, and the Connie in retrospect is just dwarfed.
Yeah, it's probably no now I see it's probably only half the height of it coming off the ground, but
But
yeah, it's still like considering that's just the clearance, it's kind of crazy.
mm,
But yeah, you can. So there's those fins I was talking about. You can actually see
yeah,
the kind of rudder piece on it as well. So yeah, it's just gonna it just got some really different control
it
mechanisms for it.
it might make it, but those aerofoils and stuff make it a really good flyer in atmosphere.
Well, that's what I mean. Like it's really interesting that they
Um,
put those on it. I wouldn't think a capital would kind of really go into atmosphere much, but again, with the torpedo nature and base building, those torpedoes
yeah,
all of a sudden quite a real threat. All of a
right.
sudden.
And when you look at it in terms of it being the smallest capital, it's a Corvette. Corvettes
Hmm.
tend to be the ships that go in closer. Um, and the fact that it's built by the, in conjunction with the civilian defence force and
Hmm.
what types of ships there need to be their capitals, it makes sense to have a ship that can be launched from a planet, so fly in atmosphere, deal with those issues, piracy issues on the planet, piracy issues in space. If it's a local cop car or local cop paddy wagon or whatever,
Mm.
it makes sense to be able to function in all those areas. So
Yeah. I don't have it queued up, but I did send them to you. I don't know if you saw them on your phone, but I took photos of the panels and stuff, and it actually talks
mhm.
about everything it does. I'll try and bring that up in a second if I can. Just give me a second. Um,
Yeah, I did see one of the panels. I did start to read the Polaris one, but it was too small and it was too late.
yeah, I'm sorry.
So
If I open it that way, it's gonna screw your camera, so I'm gonna open it this way. Just give me a second.
mhm.
I would have called it RSI. There it is.
But it does. It looks very impressive. The Polaris.
Yep. So I'm just gonna read it off the image. Um,
Now, see
s-
that side view there. You've got that almost that
hang on,
V,
I'll pause it for you. Yeah.
the V at the back there. Those two arms.
Are you want me to go back?
As it was going around, you didn't have to go back that far. You could
Oh,
still see
sorry.
them on the screen,
Oh, just tell me when to pause.
but you'll see it. You'll see it as it comes around. So you can start to see them now. The
Yep.
kind of orange tips and that scissor look.
Yep.
And I'm
Well,
thinking,
they're the ones
gee,
that
they look great.
they're the ones that
Yeah.
rotate. Plus, they've got a rudder on them as well. It's kind of crazy.
But if you pause it there,
Yep.
at first glance, what do they remind you of as an engine?
Very similar to the Connie ones, believe it or not. That's kind of what they were.
Well, I was thinking the look of those and that V shape from my small, small screen. I went, oh, Redeemer engine is what it looked like. That's the first
Oh
thing
yeah,
that came to my mind.
I can see how you see
That
that.
that V, the V
Different,
shape.
yeah, different manufacturer though. So yeah.
I know, different manufacturer, but I would love to see CIG. You need to make more ships with that V-shape engine like the Redeemer has, or get rid of that engine altogether. It doesn't work in the verse. And as an experimental model, you've either got more of them by now, or you've ditched it. Anyway, that's another excursive. Sorry.
That's okay. If I can turn this off for half a second, will it? Yes, there we go. So this is the Polaris thing. It says the Polaris is a nimble Corvette class capital ship that packs a powerful punch with a full armament of turrets and torpedoes, intended for use as both a naval patrol ship and to serve as the flagship of a militia operations. Polaris has a capacity to perform search and rescue operations, light strike missions, and general security patrols. The Polaris includes the facilities to repair, rearm, and refuel a single fighter, light bomber, or support ship. So
Yep.
I thought that was kind of interesting because we haven't kind of seen that little detail explanation from CIG.
We had seen it was supposed to be able to repair and support a single fighter or bomber.
Let me rephrase it. We've seen all of that, but we've not seen it in a little summary like that.
Yeah,
is what I mean.
And that little summary does encapsulate everything we've been told about the Polaris, and there's nothing new in that, but it's nice to see it confirmed.
So yeah, I think for me, I want to see more of the Hangar, believe it or not. I think a lot of people are going to have questions about the ship and how the Hangar works and stuff like that. Again, Grim did a really good stream on it the other day, and he shows the box of things that can fit. From everything I can see, it's symmetric. but to what I was expecting. So it should be able to fit all those ships in it that are of that small class.
And I think if you look at the way they were talking about even our hangars and the pad for the hangars, that I think gives you an idea of the size. So if you get a pad, for a small ship, that's going to give you the size of that hangar. It has to, because I think that they are going metric on a lot of things. So.
Sorry, I'll just pause it there. So see, you can kind of pretty obvious it's a light, So, I don't know. I'm intrigued. I like what I've seen. It reminds me a lot of what happened with the Redeemer, Algared, how the Redeemer came out and we got to see all the outside, but then we had all these questions about the inside. It's exactly the same, just on a much bigger scale.
If you go back a little bit to the light, one thing that caught my attention there is below it you've got that turret. So as a ship that's going in and patrolling the local environment, that headlight lights up the target, and that turret literally lights it up. So
I was surprised it said search and rescue. I don't remember hearing anything about that. That's all new to me. I don't remember the search and rescue. Have I just missed that, or?
I think that's probably the one area where it's kind of it's kind of taking on all the stuff and giving us new info. But it made sense. It was, it's a ship that replaced what the Idris was supposed to be. The Idris was supposed to be equipped with that the MPUV, so it could go out and retrieve downed pilots, and so that's a search and rescue aspect. So I don't think it's beyond what the original Idris was doing, and you've got to remember, this is kind of filling in what they envisaged the Idris would be doing in the original game or original concept. So that makes perfect sense. The fact that it's a small ship, small capital ship, and it's the one they expect most people to have, hence why it's a ship that a naval patrol and local militia flagship. So, the plan is not really for everyone to have a Bengal or a Javelin or an Idris. The plan would be this is the ship we see multiple times in the verse. The others should be less frequent.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the most common capital we see. Well, unless they make another Corvette, right? Because it's just the smallest capital, so it makes sense. And again, being a ship that does a little bit of everything, I think that also adds to it quite a lot. Like, it's not a strongest attack ship, but it can absolutely punch up, which is really interesting. So I'm just curious to see where it lands. And what other Corvettes come after it,
Yeah, the question would be, because it can do everything, will they make another Corvette, being a capital ship, or will they make modules to actually enhance or detract from those abilities? So, and if they're making it so it can do everything now, kind of like you were saying, it's kind of like an upscaled Carrack.
Well, the way I kind of
would you need another one if it can do everything? If it fits that package and does everything, do you really need another one? And the answer is no, but they'll probably make some for other manufacturers.
So just to clarify, Algared asked me, was it impressive? And my first answer was just kind of imagine a Carrack that's been scaled up to the size of a Redeemer. It's just physically a bigger ship. And then I went into things about, but it's got all these extra details on the surface. So yeah, there's definitely more work. I don't want to say more work and more effort being put in, but you can kind of tell it just does have more going on. And I hope that they go back and do the outside of some, because again, if you're just doing the outside, it doesn't affect the inside. So I do hope they go back and bring up the detail level on some of the other ships. And again, that might be a part of the essential gold pass for the bigger ones, So
and I think in some ways, like, when you look at the ships, the fact that this is looking so good at this point, it is a testament to the development of the pipeline. And a lot of the ships we've had have been at different points of the pipeline, and this is the latest iteration of that. So, I hope they do go back and we see that same type of care and attention given to Redeemers and Reclaimers and Connies and even Auroras. for that external look.
Yeah. All right then. Is there anything you kind of like want to hear from people in the comments below, Algared, about the Polaris there?
What do you guys think about the Polaris? Does it meet your expectations? Does it fill you with anticipation of what's in the hangar? What's in the box? What's in the box?
Yeah.
You know, so does it? Is it meeting your expectations? Are you feeling let down by it? Are you feeling it should have been more? But yeah,
I'd just like to hear your guys' first impressions. Is it a step up from other big ships? And I mean that as in, like, I can tell it's more detailed. I'm pretty sure you guys can tell it's a bit more detailed as well. And does it kind of meet your expectations of what you expect from an RSI ship? Because again, like, for the longest time, we just called this thing like a flying Dorito, like this big grey flat thing. And it's like, even if you look at the concept image that I've kind of got there in the background, you can already tell from that to the final thing, there's all these details that weren't there. They've actually added a lot of stuff. But it does still have that same silhouette, which I think is hard to pull off, by the way. So yeah. All right then, with that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And thank you to everyone that went that extra mile on the end of the video on Patreon. With that then, he's been Algared.
he's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.